mirror match. So go ahead and strap in, get ready for a bunch of tokens. Nissa, Gideon, they're going to be flinging their tokens all around.
Yeah, and Gerry looks like he's got a new haircut. He's got his haircut kind of like mine.
He did. He told.
He's stealing my style.
I talked to him yesterday, and he said that he wants to be more like Andrew Boswell. So he went ahead and cut his hair. He's playing green-white tokens now.
He's a thieving nerd.
He's on the Boss train. Andrew Jessup, though, mulligan to 5 this game.
Ooh, ouch. So mulligans do matter quite a bit in this matchup. There's a very small subset of games where you do just curve out aggressively and run away with the game that way. But for the most part, it's going to come down to just having a lot of mana and some big mid and late game plays. And I think Andrew's in bad shape.
Yeah, Gerry has a Hangerback Walker that he's played off of his
Andrew
Canopy
also
Vista.
didn't have a second land.
Andrew didn't have a second land. Gerry also added an Evolutionary Leap to the board, which is going to be very good with that Hangerback Walker. Andrew did pick up a second land, deployed a Sylvan Advocate, but he is exceptionally far behind this game.
Yeah. I do like keeping one land hands with this green-white tokens deck because of Oath of Nissa. Just so long as you have some green mana, your potential top deck lands are a lot greater than with a lot of other decks. And because you do want to hit all your land drops and kind of have a reasonable play every turn, mulliganing is like pretty bad with the deck. The other thing too is like with all the colorless lands, things can get really awkward. So
yeah, Gerry has a Dramoka's Command to put a counter on his Hangerback Walker, making it a 3/3, going to fight that Sylvan Advocate. He has a Westvale Abbey to level up his Hangerback Walker to 4, but Gerry could potentially sacrifice it to Evolutionary Leap here on Andrew's end step. Get 4 flyers and
I feel
a
like this is the cue. You don't want to be ramming that Hangerback Walker into infinite chump block plant tokens, and this is a great way to generate some card advantage and aggressively attack that Nissa before it really does anything.
All right, so that Hangerback Walker is going to take the Evolutionary Leap into a Sylvan Advocate. It's going to give Gerry 4 1/1 Flying Thopter tokens. Something like a Nissa or a Gideon here would just be very, very good for Gerry to apply pressure to his mana light opponent.
Yeah, and one thing that is pretty common in this matchup is for things to come down to who has control of the air. The Planeswalkers typically are quite good at gumming up the ground. The fact that Sylvan Advocates have more toughness than they do power means that generally speaking, the ground just becomes a stalemate, and the place that you're really going to get work done is with these flying creatures. So this is kind of symptomatic of how the matchup generally plays out. Is you play some ground creatures. At some point, though, you have to take the skies if you want to attack your opponent's Planeswalkers.
Well, Andrew's just going to play a Forest and pass. Gerry's going to cast his Archangel Abyssin on Andrew's end step. He does have. He also used his 4 Thopters to kill off that Nissa last turn.
Yeah.
Gerry seems to be in a commanding position here. He also has He also has that Westvale Abbey on the battlefield. There's one more creature that's not an Abyssin, then he can transform his Ormondal and still keep his Abyssin around. 8 damage here is going to take Andrew Jessup down to 12 life. And the writing is all but on the wall next turn when that Ormondal can transform.
Yeah, in the sideboard, these players are going to have access to cards like Tragic Arrogance and Planar Outburst to catch them up if they're behind. But out of the main deck, there's, other than a flipping an Abyssin, you're not really going to have access to anything that can catch you up if you're behind. One thing that this Evolutionary Leap does that's quite nice is it lets you flip your Abyssin basically whenever you want. That's one of the nice things about Evolutionary Leap. It is good at generating card advantage against the control decks, but in a lot of other matchups where maybe the card advantage isn't as potent, the sacrifice is important because it makes it so that you always get to see Abyssin and you always get to flip Abyssin.
Well, Dramoka's Command is going to put a counter on a plant and fight a Thopter token. This has the potential to flip that Abyssin, which will handle the rest of the Thopters that Gerry has. But then you still have to deal with the 6/3 flying Abyssin that's going to kill Andrew Jessup in 2 attacks.
Yeah. I wonder if Andrew has something like a Stasis Snare or a Declaration in Stone that he's hoping to use so that he can Oh, well, that's bad.
Gerry has his own Dromoka's command. He's just going to put a counter on his Thopter.
Yep.
And make sure it doesn't die in the combat. And Andrew's going to scoop him up. When you mulligan to 5 and miss your second land drop, and your opponent comes out of the gates fast like that, that's usually going to be the case. But in the sideboard match, anything can happen. Let's take a look at the player sideboards and see what they've got.
Yeah, for sideboard games, things change quite a bit. It becomes usually a lot more focused on the air fight, specifically because of the presence of Linvala. It means that it's just so hard to aggressively curve out and kill someone. And Tragic Arrogance also speaks to that point also. Tragic Arrogance is just such a good way to catch up if you're behind, as well as just profit in a board stall.
So Andrew has 3 Lambholt Pacifist, 2 Declaration in Stone, 2 Tragic Arrogance, a Nissa Vastwood Seer, a Clip Wings, an Aerial Volley, an Angelic Purge, an Evolutionary Leap, a Linvala the Preserver, a Den Protector, and a Secure the Waste. You keep mentioning Linvala and Tragic Arrogance. Is there anything else that you might want to bring in here?
So I do like Den Protector in this matchup, just as a way to generate a little bit of card advantage. And it doesn't have flying, but it does have evasion, so it's a good way to attack Planeswalkers. The other card that I sometimes like in this matchup in a small number is Angelic Purge. When I was playing 3, but I didn't have all of them in post-board against Greenway tokens. But you want to be able to sacrifice your hanger-back walkers so that you have all the tokens. You want to be able to flip your Avacyn, and you want to deal with your opponent's Avacyn. So Angelic Purge is good for those things. The other card that I could see Andrew bringing in is Declaration in Stone. For me personally, I don't like it that much because the things that really matter are the Planeswalkers and the Avacyns. The Declaration in Stones, typically, they're a removal spell that are going to kill the least important things on the battlefield. Sometimes you get like a bunch of Secure the Waste tokens, in which case Declaration in Stone is really good. So I think that the general consensus is you do bring in Declaration in Stone, but I could see Andrew not bringing it in.
Now Gerry has 2 Declaration in Stone, 3 Planar Outbursts, 2 Nissa Vastwood Seer, 2 Linvala the Preserver, a Den Protector, an Enlightened Ascetic, 2 Stasis Snare, and 2 Secure the Waste. How do you think Gerry presides?
So I think that Gerry's definitely going to bring in the Linvalas and the Den Protector for the reasons that I spoke about before. I think that the planar outbursts are not as good in this matchup as the Tragic Arrogances are. A lot of Tragic Arrogances' value is that you get to keep 1 big flyer and 1 Planeswalker on your side, and then leave your opponent with a ground creature on Planeswalker, and you can attack their Planeswalker to death, making Tragic Arrogance really, really good. Planar Outbursts, you don't really have that same line of play. So I think that Gerry might bring in like 1 Planar Outburst just to save him if he does fall behind, but I don't think he's going to bring in all 3. Nissa Vastwood Seer may be something that he wants to bring in if he's planning on aggressively using his own Nissas to constantly tick down. But for the most part, the cards that I like are just the Linvala and the Den Protector.
All right, now, a lot of these cards are powerful, big, powerful mythics. Mm-hmm. A lot of these cards are rares.
Yeah, that's how
rares.
you win. You just play all the rares and mythics you have.
And I know some people, like myself, enjoy playing with foils.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, in our weekly sale at StarCityGames.com, you can get up to 50% off select foil rares and foil mythics.
You set this up so well, you dirty dog. I didn't even know where you were going with this.
Now, beware that this sale does end Monday at 10:59 a.m. So if you want to get some of these sweet foil rares and mythics, head on over to StarCityGames.com to check that out. You can get your Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, Misdirection, even them Hangerback Walkers for your deck.
Man, you are smooth as can be.
Oh, that's why I'm here.
Somebody give this guy a raise.
That's why I'm here. So let's go ahead and jump back to our match here as our players are just finishing shuffling up. For those of you joining us, we have Gerry Thompson on green-white tokens against Andrew Jessup on green-white tokens. Both players are 6-0. Whoever wins this match is going to lock up a day 2 spot at 7-0.
Yep.
Meaning even if they lose 2 in a row, they're still going to make day 2. Gerry is currently 4th on our Player of the Year leaderboard. First in my heart, not going to lie. And he clinched his spot for the Players' Championship at the end of Season 1, so he will be in Roanoke, even though he lives there, to be able to play for that $20,000 grand prize. Andrew Jessup is currently 13th on the Player of the Year leaderboard, part of Team Metagame Gurus, trying to gather as many points as he can to try and qualify for that Players' Championship. Looks like he's going to take a mulligan down to 6. Hopefully he can keep this opening hand, as we would hate to have a repeat of Game 1, where he just mulls to 5 and is never really in it. He's going to keep Scry to the bottom, and let's see how he starts off.
Hopefully he has mana. That would be good.
Canopy Vista and pass. Gerry is going to mark that and go right back. Looks like he does have a Plains, but he's just going to pass the turn after that.
So one thing that I am kind of curious about is how many Sylvan Advocates these guys have post-board, because sometimes they're like, you probably can't take all of them out because you do want to have 2 mana plays, but I can see trimming them just so that you have more room for the bigger plays. I kind of wish I could just take these players' decks and just fan them out and see actually exactly how they sideboard. Yeah, because with this green-white tokens deck, it's pretty versatile. The mirrors can play out a lot of different ways. Like, I think it usually comes down to an air battle, but it doesn't always come down to an air battle. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can sideboard depending on how you think things will play out.
Well, both players are going to have a Sylvan Advocate, Gerry on turn 2, Andrew on turn 3. Gerry's going to fire back with a Hangerback Walker on 1. And now Andrew's going to go into his 4th turn. And this is the turn where he has a chance to deploy something like Gideon or be able to cast 2 2-mana spells and try and pull ahead on some tempo.
Yeah, and even off of this mana, he could potentially do something like Oath of Nissa into Nissa. So he definitely wants to do something, though. He didn't have a play last turn, and he kind of needs something good here. This is a matchup where, momentum does matter. So falling behind is not advisable.
Well, looks like we have a Canopy Vista, and he's going to crash in for 2. Gerry didn't attack on his turn. Andrew is not going to keep the Gentleman's Agreement the same, so he's going to crash in with his 2/3 Vigilance.
So always an interesting scenario because it's kind of a free block, but you sort of wonder, well, if he had Dromoka's Command, he probably would have just fired it off first. But in this case, he wouldn't have because Gerry has the Hangerback Walker. But
so here's the Dromoka's Command. It's going to put a counter on the Sylvan Advocate, growing it to a 3/4. It's going to fight the Hangerback Walker. So ultimately what's going to happen is Gerry's Sylvan Advocate and Hangerback Walker are going to die, and he's going to end up with a 1/1 Flying Thopter.
Yeah,
that's a real good exchange for Andrew.
That was a really good exchange for Andrew. He probably wouldn't have been able to get such a good exchange in the subsequent turns either, because that Hangerback Walker would have had the opportunity to grow, or Gerry would have had the opportunity to do like a double block because he would have had something else on the board also.
Well, here is a Gideon for Gerry. He's going to make a 2/2 Knight Ally token. Not going to attack with the Hangerback.
Yeah, I like
Thopter, leaving it back and pass the turn back to Andrew.
I like the no attack with the Thopter, because if Andrew has another Dromoka's Command here, Andrew could potentially just block with the Knight. Or excuse me, if Andrew had another Dromoka's Command, he could fight the Knight, put a +1 counter on the
and then kill the Gideon.
Advocate and kill the Gideon, right?
Oh, so here we have a face-down morph creature. It's going to be a Den Protector. This is going to allow him to rebuy that Dromoka's Command, and man, that card is good.
Yeah, especially on Den Protector. It just means that, once you get Den Protector up to 4 power, it just means it can snipe any Gideon, and it's pretty hard to block.
So let's see what Gerry happens to have here. Something like land with an Abyssin in hand seems like a pretty good play now that he's building up an army with this Gideon.
Yeah, a Dromoka's Command just to fight that token would even be great. Like any removal spell on the
Den Protector?
on the morph would be a great play from Gerry's side. Because Den Protector on Dromoka's Command is like kind of a big deal. And despite a mulligan, Andrew's been able to generate 1 2-for-1, and the Den Protector is looking to be another 2-for-1. So Andrew's kind of digging himself out of this mulligan quite nicely.
Well, there's a Den Protector for Gerry, off of his Oath of Nissa.
Gerry's Den Protector is not quite as good, though.
Yeah, without that Dromoka's Command to recycle.
Right.
Looks like he is just going to make another ally. He's going to Declaration in Stone the Den Protector on Andrew Jessup's side. That is going to give him a clue. Get a clue, Andrew Jessup. There you go.
And that was pretty important to take care of that Den Protector.
Ooh,
So
Andy
that's a
has
good
an
move.
evolutionary leap to play,
Yep.
so he can cash in these 2/2s for
real cards.
actual tangible cards,
Yeah.
too. Now, Gerry doesn't have a Dromoka's command to recycle with his Den Protector, but he does have that Declaration in Stone. It gives Andrew Jessup clues that he can draw into, but that really isn't all that bad when Gerry is just continuing to generate board presence with this Gideon ally of Zendikar.
Yeah, that's certainly true. See what Andrew does here. It looks like he has an Avacyn. And it looks like he's going to try to make some use of that indestructible trigger. I like this attack on Andrew's part.
Oh, so he's going to be able to cash in his use his Avacyn to give his creatures indestructible. That's going to kill one of Gerry's Knight tokens.
I like that play a lot too. I just want to highlight it because a lot of times people try to be trickier with their Archangel Avacyn. They just pass with their 5 mana up and they say to themselves, my opponent will never know that I have this. Whereas Andrew just knows Gerry's going to see right through that and knows that the best use of Avacyn is just get something out of the indestructibility trigger. Attack with your Sylvan Advocate, play your Avacyn on your turn. You're probably not going to gain a whole lot out of like holding it for the end of Gerry's.
Yeah. Plus, like, it's perfect on this board as a way to try and pressure this Gideon.
Right.
Well,
unless Gerry has his own Avacyn, that's problematic.
He's going to pass with 5 mana up, and this could be real tough for Andrew to attack if he doesn't have some instant speed way to make it so his Gideon doesn't die. Gerry also has that evolutionary leap, so any type of removal spell that Andrew has, anything tricksy that he tries to do with these Knights on Gerry's turn or on Gerry's board, he can just turn them into real cards.
Right, and it's to Andrew's detriment to just say go, because that Gideon and that evolutionary leap is essentially a card draw engine. So whether Gerry has the Angel or not, Andrew kind of has to attack.
Well, Gerry has a Stasis Snare to take care of it. It looks like Andrew has another copy of Dromoka's command, so he is going to be able to use that to make Gerry sacrifice an enchantment. But
unfortunately, there's an Oath of Nissa.
Yeah, as we see, they're all stacked up there. Oath of Nissa gives him lots of insulation against that.
Yep. If only he had gotten back the Drogma's command with Den Protector, he'd be able to machine gun down all those enchantments.
Oh, Gerry's just going to go ahead and cash in one of his Knight allies. He's going to find a Sylvan Advocate, and if he can hit a 6th land, that 4/5 becomes a real big body.
Yeah.
Something like 6th land, Den Protector, face down Sylvan Advocate, make a Knight ally. That's a pretty good board.
Yeah.
And that even leaves up 1 green mana to use that evolutionary leap if Andrew has anything. Ooh, Gideon is going to get in the red zone here.
So I like this play from Gerry. I think this might be Gerry playing around another Avacyn specifically, because by making this attack, Andrew's likely to flash the Avacyn in as a blocker. And if he does flash it in, the Gideon is safe from getting hit by the Avacyn. And this allows Gerry to flip up his Den Protector, get back the Declaration Stone, answer Andrew's Avacyn, and still keep his Gideon alive at 1 loyalty. So, there's a good chance that Andrew is able to get his Avacyn up to 5 power, but at least Gerry forces him to, have all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that here we might end up seeing this Dromoka's command being used to pump his Avacyn and fight off that Den Protector to stop the Declaration Stone from coming back.
Well, Declaration Stone is going to come back, no matter what. But the 3/2 body is pretty valuable.
So Andrew is going to put the counter on the Avacyn. He's going to fight the Den Protector or the Sylvan Advocate on the Den Protector. Gerry's going to... Oh, he's just going to put the... Oh, he's going to... Yeah, counter on the Avacyn, fight with the Advocate. Gerry's going to flip his Den Protector, get back the Declaration in Stone. It will die from the fight. Combat's going to happen. Gideon goes down. Gerry takes 3 damage. Quite a big swing here. Very good turn for Andrew Jessup. But now Gerry gets to untap and answer that Gideon and potentially deploy something to handle the rest of the board.
Yeah, and even if Andrew has nothing, he gets to crack his clues and look for something.
I know, isn't it great?
It's great for Andrew.
Oh, Max McVitie with Lampy, the lamp on his shoulder.
Yep. Someone actually posted on Twitter what the Pixar lamp's name was.
Yeah, isn't it like Luxor or something?
I don't
Luxy?
remember, but I remember seeing it and thinking like, wow, that's so cool. I had no idea that lamp actually had a name.
All right, well, here.
Wow, so Joey did bring in the Nissa. That's interesting.
Well, here is the Nissa. Voice of Zendikar. No, this is
Vastwood Seer.
Vastwood Seer.
Yep. And this is a pretty good card. It's nice having a 3-drop. I know that for a little while I was playing Tireless Tracker in my deck just for the matchups where I wanted to have another 3-drop and curve out. But it seems like Gerry prefers, what's better than 4 Nissa is 6 Nissa.
Yeah, just have some more. Nissa Tribal.
Yeah, it's not like they're legendary.
So Andrew is going to crack both clues on Gerry's end step, draw a couple cards. Go to his turn.
Another thing that I like about Angelic Purge rather than the other options is you get to even take down things like Stasis Snare, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. And it looked like Andrew actually hit his 6th land last turn, so that attack from the Sylvan Advocate did 5 points of damage instead of just 4.
Yep.
He's going to attack this turn. Gerry's going to block with a 2/2 Night token, sacrifice it to Evolutionary Leap. He's going to find a copy of Hangerback Walker. Here's another Advocate for Andrew Jessup. Just an army of 4/5s. Really, this feels like it's going to come down to an air battle. But if Gerry's able to flip that Nissa and make a 5/5, that is a pretty good job at holding this fort.
Well, it's 4/4, right?
Or a 4/4, yeah.
Yeah, 4/4 is not quite as good on this board.
Man, why is it not a 5/5?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, Wizards.
So it's a little tricky. Gerry kind of needs a big play. Like if he plays a land, protecting his Nissa might be a little difficult. I'm not 100% sure what's in his hand, but it looks like he feels like he can protect his Nissa, or at the very least get some value from it on the way out.
Well, he does still have the Sylvan Advocate in his hand that he got off of the first Evolutionary Leap activation. Now he also has a Hangerback Walker that he got out of the second Evolutionary Leap activation. That seems like it's a pretty good starting defense in addition to this 4/4.
Yeah.
Aisha, the Awoken World. Gerry's got a copy there. Always the Prepared Mage. And then he just passes the turn back. Ooh, does that mean he has an Avacyn?
It could also mean Secure the Wastes. He doesn't have them in his sideboard, so if he plays one here, it means he doesn't have Secure the Wastes in his main deck. So if he plays one here, that means he brought it in from the sideboard. Which I would find a little surprising. I think that Secure the Waste is a really powerful card, and I'm always happy to see it in Game 1. But Game 2, when there's Tragic Arrogances running around, I'm a little more worried about it.
Oh, man, so Andrew's just not going to attack.
Well, yeah, it looks like Andrew just has had pretty lackluster draws this whole match.
Gerry is going to flash in an Avacyn on Andrew's end step.
I think Andrew's drawn 7 spells the whole game. It's pretty unfortunate.
Gerry's going to go ahead and plus his Nissa Sage Animist, get a Fortified Village, play it, revealing a Forest from his hand. Well, it's going to enter the battlefield, reveals a Forest from his hand, so it comes into play untapped. He's going to play his land for the turn. Now he has a lot of mana to work with, and that Evolutionary Leap combined with the Hangerback Walker that he has in his hand could be real sweet.
Yep. The thing that's a little tricky about it is if he plays the Hangerback Walker and sacrifices the Evolutionary Leap, he's going to be, flipping his Avacyn and killing all those tokens. But if he intends to just...
Ooh. So we can Den Protector back to his Declaration in Stone, handle both of the Sylvan Advocates.
Yep. Pretty big move.
Gets a couple clues, but now he can get in for some damage.
Gets in for 8.
And he still has 2 mana available for that Evolutionary Leap if he needs to. Andrew's going to crash in one of these clues. Maybe he can find an Avacyn for himself.
I think he already has an Avacyn.
Looks like he has a 3rd Avacyn.
Yeah, well, he drew it off the last clue.
Ah.
Yeah.
So this is going to allow him to ambush Gerry's Avacyn.
And also attack Gerry's Nissa, potentially. This is a pretty big move. Gerry's got a lot more card advantage than Andrew going this game, but these clues have kind of kept Andrew in it.
So Gerry's going to cash in his Avacyn with Evolutionary Leap, find another Avacyn. Andrew's going to take 4 damage from that Aisha, the Woken World. Pass the turn back, and he still has that clue in the bank to draw another card.
Yep.
Andrew's going to cash in that clue and draw a card. Looks like he's got a Gideon and a bunch more gas.
Yeah, didn't have that before, but when your opponent's just giving you clues, you get some redraws.
Well, to be fair, those declarations did some pretty good work.
Yeah.
Getting rid of Avacyns and Sylvan Advocates.
Wow, Lambhill Pacifist. I'm surprised to see that's in post-board.
Oh, Archangel Avacyn is going to take out the Nissa. Andrew's going to reload with a Pacifist and a Gideon, who's going to bring along a 2/2 Knight token.
Now, this upcoming turn, I think one of Gerry's better plays are going to be to play his Hangerback Walker for 4, and then have the 9th mana to sacrifice it so that he can get a little bit of an Air Force. It's a little scary in the face of this Avacyn, but if you can answer the Avacyn and have a bunch of flyers to attack that Gideon, that would certainly be ideal.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's going to be able to put that together, though. That Avacyn is, you know, quite the problem.
Now, Gerry does have an Avacyn of his own, so this attack could be particularly good.
Yeah, I think the move is just to block with the 2/2 and the 3/3. You know, you're usually going to lose something to an Avacyn. You'd rather force it now so that you can potentially top deck a, you know, Jamoka's Command to fight your opponent's Avacyn.
Yeah. That block, though, is real weak to Jamoka's Command. Counter on my Aisha, fight your Avacyn, play my own Avacyn.
Well, I think probably the
Jamoka's Command is going to be insane no matter
yeah.
what. I have to imagine that's what Andrew is debating in his mind on how he wants to block here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's just going for the chump.
Just going to chump with
paying
the 2/2.
a lot of respect.
Gerry is a powerful mage. He commands that respect.
Yeah, Gerry does command the respect, that's for sure.
He has a Plains for his turn. I think we might see that hanger back for 4 here. Or maybe just for 2 and be able to play Avacyn. Yeah, the Avacyn that he has in his hand makes it real hard for Andrew to actually attack with his Avacyn now.
Yeah. One thing that's a little interesting, too, is he can play his Avacyn and then sacrifice the Den Protector to, like, you know, get a draw. And then he'll be able to untap, level up his Hangerback Walker, then flip his Avacyn, and he'll convert his Hangerback Walker to 3 flying tokens and kill. Ooh, that was bad.
So Andrew's Avacyn flipped. That's going to kill his own his Lambhill Pacifist. Deal 3 damage to Gerry. Gerry's going to play his Avacyn with the trigger on this deck to give all of his creatures indestructible.
Yeah, pretty big play.
Oath of Nissa for Andrew is going to come down. See if he can find something gassy on the top of his deck. He's got another copy of Gideon.
And I really like making Gideon emblems in this matchup. Because Andrew has so little on the board, it's like a little scary. He has to be worried about just getting overwhelmed by Gerry going really wide, and Gideon making tokens is one of the best ways to do that. But because he has the other Gideon play, I'd probably just make an emblem with this one, play the second one, make a 3/3, and like when you start getting the emblems going, your plays just scale up so nicely.
Yeah. So he's going to emblem with his Gideon, going to play a second Gideon, make a 3/3, just like he said. He also has enough mana to play a Nissa.
And Nissa making 1/2s rather than 0/1s is a like infinite upgrade. You know, from no power to 1 power is just a monstrous jump.
Well, this board has changed quite a bit.
Yep.
Gerry is going to sacrifice his Den Protector,
yeah.
find another Den Protector. Oh, that's going to be real good.
Yeah, and I like this play a lot too because Gerry's going to be able to level his Hangerback Walker in response to the Avacyn, and he's going to be able to clean up some of Andrew's board and, quite frankly, build his own side of the board because the 3 Thopters are worth more than the 3/3 Hangerback.
Yeah. I think he's trying to figure out how much mana he has available for the turn with that Den Protector in his hand to see if he even wants to level the Hangerback.
Yeah, if he has enough to get back the Declaration of Stone and cast the Declaration of Stone, he can snipe one of Andrew's Planeswalkers, which is quite nice. And actually, I think he can just go for the kill. He does 3 damage just straight to Andrew. Declaration and Stones his opponent's Avacyn, and this just attacks with both his creatures for the win. So I believe that this is the end of things.
Yep.
Yep, and that's it. So Gerry Thompson just taking things away. Andrew had a little bit of a lackluster draw, fought through it as best he can, but Gerry, the Stone Cold Master, you know, he was in R&D for a little while, but now he's back on the tour and letting everybody know it's his tour.
Man, playing with Avacyn is tricky. Andrew's
really
own Avacyn killed some of his creatures.
Yep.
Then Gerry was able to use his Avacyn to save his creatures and then flip it and kill some more creatures.
Yeah.
The one thing that I want to point out that was super important in that match on both sides was just how good Den Protector was and had the potential to be in these post-board games.